This episode of Who's Your Neighbor features Academy Award-winning actress Mercedes Ruehl, talking to us from her home in the Springs about life, acting, and her love of the East End. Then it's Randall Hemming, who by day manages a high-end retail store in East Hampton, but when he's home, he's in the kitchen baking, and he owns over 70 cookie jars. And up-and-coming singer-songwriter Bobby Priel, who grew up in East Hampton and is finding his voice as his music is going viral. It's all here on Who's Your Neighbor?
Well, I first started coming out with friends in the late 70s. And then by the mid-80s, I was renting for part of the summer. By the end of the 80s, I was renting for the whole summer. And then in the early 90s, I bought a little house on Girard Drive, which was absolutely divine. And we weathered many storms there until we finally decided maybe it's time to move inland, which I did 2 years ago. But I love Springs. I love this part of East Hampton. So I would say, wow, close to 40 years I've been coming out here. I love the ocean. I love the sea. When I was young, we always went to Cape Cod in the summers, and I guess I'm a Pisces. I'm a fish. I just love the sea. I'm happiest when I'm walking along the shore, say in Amagansett or Napeague. Favorite places. I love to ride up to the Montauk at sunset and have a drink and watch the sun, go down behind the lake. As I say, I love walking the beach in Amagansett. I love all the bay beaches, Maidstone, places like that. And of course, when I had a dog, which was for 14 of those 15 years, we would scamper all over the place. Love going out to the Seal Haul-Out Trail in Montauk, where you walk through the woods and then finally come up on the high cliffs over the Atlantic, and you can see the lighthouse in the distance. Love the lighthouse. I can't even begin to tell you all the places I love out here, but certainly every beach I've ever been to is a memory in my heart. I was always going to be an actress. I was always going to be an actress from the time I was 4 or 5. Much told story. My parents were, my dad was an FBI agent, so they were in the business of moving about every 2.5 years when I was little. And we moved to this place in the Pocono Mountains so my father could work in the Scranton office when I was very young, and my parents were a young couple. And there was, he managed to find in this fairly rural area a little red brick apartment development with the main street that went into the woods. It seems like a dream now, but it had a big hill behind it, this brick apartment building. Lots of woods, lots of trees and greenery, but there was a white garage at the top of the hill, a white painted brick garage, and it was a beautiful little theater. So I would go back there, and I know I was only, I wasn't in school yet, so I had to be 4 or 5, and I would sing little operas. And mostly the themes were Baby Jesus, because that was like the big deal theme at that point. But I put on a lot of performances back there using neighborhood kids and stuff like that. So by that time I knew, and I don't know how I knew. It may have been just a need to be the center of attention. That strikes me as quite possible. But whatever may have launched me in this career, what kept me in it was a fascination with the human animal as approached by an actor and a playwright. The actor, the boards, and the passion. That has been the central focus of my life. But it's from the position of an actress that I've explored so many dimensions of human nature, and now so many varieties of human nature. And now I'm teaching at the HB Studios whenever I can throw together a workshop and have the time to do it for 6 to 10 weeks. And and working on developing characters, deep, human, three-dimensional characters with other actors, and seeing clearly just what might be needed to make that third dimension spring into action. It's just fascinating.
Mercedes Ruehl, The Fisher King.
Academy Awards, it almost seems like another lifetime now, but yes, I almost did miss it because I'm always late and I got stuck in traffic on top of that. And when I came in, I couldn't go to my seat because they were taking a commercial. No, I had to wait till they took a commercial break so the person who was sitting in my seat could get out of my seat. So I just basically got into the theater. And when the show resumed after the commercial, they were going to Best Supporting Actor, and I thought, oh my God. What if I hadn't been here? I just made this by the skin of my teeth. By that time, I had a pretty strong sense I was going to win. And when you're out there during the week before and you're preparing for the awards, you hear from various people. The Golden Globes are an indication, and also the odds from Las Vegas. You find out you're leading the odds, and you go, oh, damn, I better make a speech, because you can't go in front of 60 million people around the world and go humana, humana, humana. So I do remember, yes, I did get it, and I went up and I pretty much did the speech that I had composed in my head. And when I came off, it was Joe Pesci who was waiting there and who gave me the award. He had won it the year before. And I remember taking him by the lapels and saying, Joe, did that sound too prepared? And he said, no, no, no. And then he handed me something. He said, you're going to want to keep this. And it was the card with the envelope that said, and the winner is. So that was really neat. And did it change my life? Well, it did, in a way. It has an ongoing way of changing your life. But also, the people who are casting, shooting, producing, directing, many of them, if not more than half of them, are folks who were very young back then. So while it is important to me, and it definitely stands out on a resume, and many people remember The Fisher King as a favorite film. And luckily, it was Terry Gilliam directing, who's a wonderful director, but he's got a cult following, you know. So the film sort of never goes away. And that's been good news for me, too. It was lovely working with Robin, and it was just jarringly painful to hear about his death. And, of course, Jeff and Amanda Plummer, really a great foursome. So it's a great memory, but I can't say it's generated six-figure incomes for me every year easily, you know. Also, when you get a little older, the game gets scarce and the hunter has to trek for it. So that's okay, because it keeps you humble. This is not maybe the best advice, but it's advice that I pass on to my students a lot. When there's a disappointment, when there is a job that you don't get, or there's an audition that you know you could nail it, but somehow your nervousness or your fear gets the better of you and you don't nail it and it goes to somebody else. I had a great acting teacher, Tad Danielewski, and he said, you can give yourself 24 hours to be profoundly, deeply, and unreachably depressed. But after those 24 hours, you get right back in the game. And that was an important piece of information. I think it's applicable to a lot of human endeavor.
What's really great is now, because it is East Hampton, and so you make your money between Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend, and a little bit on the Hamptons Film Festival and Thanksgiving and Christmas, of course. But we closed the store as of January 1st, and we reopened the beginning of May. So guess what? Yours truly goes to Miami Beach for January through April, because my summer out here, my summer is the four walls of Debbie Kroll at 23 Main Street. I don't get a summer. You know, you're working 7 days a week, but I'm not complaining because I only work 8 months a year. The difference between work Randall and home Randy. Yes, I have a stage name, I have a work name. And that was given, my real name is Randall. That's my birth name. And I never used it. I always went by Randy. Everybody called me Randy. And then when I worked for Giorgio Armani in 1999 to 2002, the director of operations said, you know what, Randy just doesn't suit you. What's your real name? And I said, well, my real name is Randall. She said, that's it. No, my background was not fashion. I fell into the fashion industry totally by accident. I was in theater. Back in Ohio, I had my own professional 2,918-seat movie palace theater. My friend Jason, who worked for a very high-end luxury men's store near Bloomingdale's, Jean Pietro, it's no longer there. And he said, I just came to say, let's go out and have a drink. I'm leaving, I'm moving to San Francisco. I want to say my goodbyes. And I said, wait a minute, Jason, what about your job at Jean Pietro? He said, oh, I resigned. And I said, yes, but who's taking your place? I'm unemployed. He said, well, nobody. He said, do you want that job? I said, yes, I want it. And he said, but Randy, do you have any fashion background? Have you ever worked in retail? I said, no, I'm an actor. I'll act my way through the interview. So that's what I did, and I got the job. And that was the beginning of my career in the fashion industry. I decided to come to East Hampton after not being able to find, my partner and I, Jack Laney, not being able to find a place in upstate New York. I never considered the Hamptons because I thought, on our budget, this is unattainable. Our friend Jane, who was in the real estate industry at the time, this was 2004, one cold January, rainy, horrible day, said, get your butts on the jitney, I have found your home. And hence we are here now. But it did not look like this. This was a shack in the woods. There were squirrels running in the kitchen. There were holes in the floor. This was a horror. And Jack said, after 10 minutes of walking through this place, we'll take it. And I grabbed him by the arm and I said, can I have a word with you, please? I said, are you out of your mind? This place is a dump. And he said, but don't you see it done? He said, this is my grandfather's 1930s Nantucket cottage. We bought it in April of 2004. Renovation started in May, the following May, and we worked on it every weekend because we both had jobs in the city. So we worked on it on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the rest of 2004, all of 2005, and the first half of 2006. And then in May of 2006, Jack passed away. Living here full-time started for me in October of 2010. I love it. I'm from Ohio, so this is very much my roots, living in kind of a rural, small community. There isn't a season that's not incredibly beautiful out here. The friendships that I formed while I'm out here, probably one of the dearest friendships was the Academy Award-winning, Tony Award-winning actress Mercedes Ruehl, whose house was right there. She sold it, but her backyard abutted my front yard. So she created what was called the cocktail path between our two homes, and we would go back and forth at 5 o'clock to visit one another on the cocktail path. But yeah, she was really a dear friend. And when Jack passed, he died of a massive heart attack in his sleep in the bedroom right down the hall there. That first week in May 2006, she was over here every day with lunch and a bottle of Veuve Clicquot. And I would say, Mercedes, it's noon, I can't drink yet. And she would open it and she said, drink. And that got me through the first week. Whoosh the balls with a fork dipped in milk, in my case light cream. Then what you want to do is take powdered sugar and just sprinkle a little bit over the top of each cookie, just a little dusting. These would be great with champagne. Yes, yes, I love to bake. I love to bake. I got that love of baking from my mother. When I moved from home at Christmas time, I really missed the smell in the house of the Christmas cookies. My mom was such a baker. Baking because you love to bake, and and the thing of, people go, "You're a baker? You're so thin." I said, "Yes, because I don't eat what I bake, I give away what I bake." You bake because you want to share it. It's not, who makes a cake or a pie and then sits down and eats it for themselves? You just don't do that. See, this is fashion. This is fashion. So as soon as we're done, as soon as I'm done talking to you, I'm going in the kitchen and I'm going to start my Aunt Katie's rum balls. I'll make the rum balls today, and I'll do my mom's cocoons today, and I'll make peanut butter blossoms, also known as Hershey Kisses. We'll do all that today. Remember to always keep those cookie jars filled. And also remember, you can never buy love, but you can always bake joy. I think I'm going to run away with the spoon. That's so Randy.
Ageless, never ending, your love is always here.
You can count on me. X1's beef, then I put out the Big Mac, roll up on a flash like Kodak. Know that, throw some shots on the gram, cause I know she wanna throw back. No filter. Please believe me, I equally cease to be added to secrecy. Peacefully show me some decency, leave me the greed and obesity. Recently, I have been losing my frequency.
How I found music is I always, was driving to school with my mom at the time when I'm 5 years old, and the music was always on, and I would always just fall in love with the music, and I'd be dancing, and I'd be making, drum noises when I was 3 or 2, and I just picked up a guitar that I was given as a gift on my 7th birthday, and I just decided to learn it, and I fell in love with it.
Just tell me what you want, Robin. What do you want?
I want you to want me. I want you to be free.
I grew up in East Hampton. A lot of great things, a lot of bad things. Great things is there's a lot of good people out here. Fortunately, there's a lot of things that nobody talks about out here, such as the opioid crisis and just a lot of other problems that I wish were more addressed. But I will always love my hometown, and I respect that I had to go through bad things and good things to get to where I am today, because it helped me become stronger and learn from my experiences. And I'll always be supporting my hometown, and I'll always try to help people out here, no matter what it is, if it's mental health or if it's drug addiction and the things that are taking a toll on this community.
Drunk out, shorty on my mobile phone. Calling up at 4 a.m. You still at home. She said she with her friends and she not alone.
Well, Prophet or Bobby Priel. Prophet inspired. I think that came from when I was a senior in high school, and my friend and I were trying to find out rapper names and hip-hop names, and my friend came up with one and then said, "Why don't you be Prophet, like the prophet of something?" And I said, okay. I stuck with that and kept it ever since. That's been like 6 years.
Did you notice? Did you notice that I'm focused? That I'm focused. You're the motive. You're the motive. You're the motive. You're the motive. The motive. Did you notice that I'm focused?
I just love making music, and I love making beats and stuff like that, and doing this all day is the best thing I can ask for. So this is what I started with first. I was driving my friend back home, and all of a sudden I just had this like weird little da-na-na-na-na-na-na. So that's all cool and all, but then you gotta go and add some bass because people like the bass. I would really want to use my platform to bring attention to mental health. Stuff that I don't really like to talk about until recent years. I suffer from a grocery list of problems, and I was suffering so much, and I always had a smile on my face, and the only way that I can put all that frustration and sadness and energy into into anything was through music and through film, was to work. I really want to use my platform, if I ever reach a great level of success, to bring attention to mental health and say that, you know, it's okay to not be okay, and I made it this far, you know, and anybody can, and I really just want to use myself as an example of that.
Look at my whip, look at my clothing, look at my wrist. Look at me boasting, joking, where I wouldn't be going if I never met you tonight. And I know I shouldn't care, but this life I want to share is something you can't prepare, and it's alright.
I fell in love with this girl who broke my heart, the typical cliche love story. And she found another person and moved away. And I wrote 30-something songs about her. And so over the course of like 3 years, it was just all the same person. And I found out that just recently she heard all of them, which kind of made me feel happy. That was my dilemma. But now, you know, enjoying life and doing my thing and focusing on my craft, and, you know, who needs that stuff, so. Yeah.
They're changing up the young and profit, so they can make a double profit. Smoking gas to the emphysema, bombing tracks called in Hiroshima. I said I wanted independence.
A little bit about my music videos. I direct and I edit and I design all of the music videos that I shoot for myself. So every single music video I've ever done was directed, edited, and produced and all that by me. And it sounds like a lot of work, but when you really love it, it's you know, it takes about like a day and a lot of hard work, but it's fun. And this is just basically a little prop I'm using for one of the videos. And
You made that?
Yeah, I made that. I cut a bunch of papers and just made a bunch of fake cash. So I'm not diving in money yet, but, you know, a little visualization, I guess. I don't have a favorite song that I've written. I think that's because I put so much work and effort and energy into all my songs, so I kind of just like them all the same. But I would say After Her is one of my favorites, which is doing the best right now.
She was falling, I could see it in her eyes, but I wished it was with me. All my life felt so put up on the side.
I think that's why I don't have a favorite song, because every single song I really put my heart into it and like what I feel and what's going on in my life. And I really just want to, you know, meet the people that have inspired me and inspire other people to, you know, create.
So I can finally say what's left that's unspoken.